It has been called the worst machine gun ever made. A weapon so unreliable that it became infamous among the very soldiers it was meant to protect. This is the story of the French Chauchat, the light machine gun of the First World War. World War I was unlike anything Europe had ever seen. Trench warfare had locked the Western Front into a deadly stalemate. For the first time in history, the machine gun ruled the battlefield, sweeping entire ranks of advancing infantry into the mud. But there was a problem. The standard machine guns of the time, the German *08, the British Vickers, and the French Hotchkiss, were heavy, bulky, and usually mounted on tripods. They were devastating in defense, but nearly impossible to move forward with advancing troops. What armies needed was something new. A portable automatic weapon, light enough for one man to carry, yet powerful enough to deliver suppressive fire. The French answered that call with the Fusil Mitrailleur MLE 1915 CSRG. History remembers it by the name of its lead designer, Colonel Louis Chauchat. On paper, the Chauchat was revolutionary. Weighing just 9 kilograms, about 20 pounds, it was one of the lightest automatic weapons of the war. It fired from a shoulder stock, with a pistol grip and a 20-round magazine. Its action was based on the long recoil principle, borrowed from the Browning Auto 5 shotgun. In theory, this allowed for reliable semi-automatic and fully automatic fire, chambered in a powerful 8mm Lebel rifle cartridge. It was mass-producible, relatively cheap, and could be carried into battle by infantry squads. In short, it looked like the answer to trench warfare. But in practice, it was a disaster. The most infamous issue was the magazine. The Chauchat used a semicircular, open-sided magazine that exposed its cartridges to mud, dust, and dirt. In the filthy trenches of France, this was a recipe for disaster. Mud clogged the ammunition. Dirt jammed the feed lips. The thin metal warped easily, preventing proper feeding. Even when clean, the weapon's long recoil action was finicky. If even a single grain of mud or dust got into the mechanism, it could cause a jam. And when the gun jammed, clearing it was a nightmare. But the flaws didn't stop there. The weapon overheated quickly. Its bipod was flimsy and often collapsed under stress. The stock was uncomfortable, the sights crude, and the gun's accuracy poor. American troops, who were later issued Chauchat machine guns, gave it a new nickname: the Sho-Sho. And they despised it. When the United States entered the war in 1917, its military was woefully short on modern automatic weapons. The Browning automatic rifle, the famous BAR, was still in development and would not reach the front until the very end of the conflict. So, the Americans turned to France. Tens of thousands of Chauchats were supplied to the American Expeditionary Forces. But instead of the original 8mm French version, the US requested a rechambered model in 30-06 Springfield. This version was even worse. The American Chauchats were hastily manufactured, with poor tolerances and badly cut chambers. They jammed constantly. Many couldn't fire more than a few rounds without malfunctioning. The weapon intended to give US troops mobile firepower instead became a source of endless frustration and ridicule. For the men in the trenches, the Chauchat was a gamble. Some soldiers managed to keep theirs working, nursing them through constant cleaning and maintenance. When it fired properly, it could deliver bursts of suppressive fire and keep enemy heads down. But for most, it was a nightmare. Imagine charging across shell-cratered ground under machine gun fire, and your own weapon fails you. Imagine being pinned down in the mud, desperately needing covering fire, only to hear the dreaded click of a jammed Chauchat. To the men who carried it, the Chauchat was not a symbol of French innovation. It was a symbol of ridicule. So, was the Chauchat truly the worst machine gun ever? It is easy to say yes, given its reputation. But history is more complicated. The truth is, the Chauchat was the first mass-produced light machine gun in history. It was a pioneer, a weapon that showed the world what was possible, even if it fell short. It armed millions of French soldiers and tens of thousands of Americans. In some cases, it did provide valuable fire support. In others, it failed catastrophically. But to dismiss it entirely misses the bigger picture. The Chauchat paved the way for better designs. The Browning automatic rifle, the Lewis gun, the Bren, and countless others. It showed that the idea of a portable automatic weapon was not only possible, but essential to modern warfare. After the war, the Chauchat's reputation sank further. Surplus guns were sold off, scrapped, or stored away. Few armies kept them in service. Historians and collectors still debate its legacy. Some argue it was fatally flawed from the start. Others insist it was a victim of poor manufacturing and battlefield conditions. One thing is certain. The Chauchat left an indelible mark on history, not for its triumphs, but for its failures. The Chauchat was meant to revolutionize warfare. Instead, it became infamous as a weapon soldiers feared almost as much as the enemy. It was unreliable, poorly built, and despised by those who carried it. And yet, it was also a step forward, a bold attempt to create something new in the chaos of the First World War. Perhaps that is the true lesson of the Chauchat. That even the worst weapon can change history. Not through its success, but through its failure.